Welcome to the 23rd week after Pentecost. It's Thursday, October the 31st, 2024. This is the Manna at the Tap podcast, where we as a community actively seek the spiritual nourishment our souls crave. The daily lectionary reading we explore together is the Manna, designed to nurture our spiritual growth and provide the sustenance our souls need. I'm Gloria, your fellow traveler on this spiritual journey, and together we share insights and interpretations from these readings that enrich our spiritual lives. Over the next week, the lectionary readings will focus on the book of Ruth, a story of human love, reflecting and enacting divine love. The book of Ruth is one of the shortest books in the Bible, consisting of 4 chapters. And within these chapters, there's the story of 2 widows, an older woman named Naomi and a young foreign woman, a Moabite named Ruth. The book is set in the times of the book of Judges, a time of chaos and disobedience in Israel. And according to Judges 21, verse 25, there was no king in Israel, and all the people did what was right in their own eyes. The nation experienced a famine which affected Naomi and her family who lived in the house of bread, Bethlehem. This little book has themes of emptiness that will flourish and abound with the promise of fullness. Famine will turn to an abundant harvest. Loss will turn to love, bitterness to joy, and barrenness will give way to birth. It is a domestic story about ordinary people who experience God's Hesed, Hesed. This is a Hebrew word that tells of and illustrates God's faithfulness and God's covenant love, which is lived out in their lives every day. In the early days of Tapestry Ministries, the community studied the book of Ruth in depth on several occasions. The lectionary reading today is Ruth chapter 1, verses 18 to 22. Naomi finds herself displaced and bereft in the country of Moab. And it is there in Moab she hears that the Lord has come to the aid of his people by providing food for them. And so she decided to return to Bethlehem with her 2 daughters-in-law. But after the journey began, she had second thoughts and told them it would be better for them to stay with their families. Ruth, though, was determined to go with her and pledge to be present with Naomi till death. When Naomi realized Ruth's determination, they began the journey home in silence. As they reached Bethlehem city gates, the women in the town wondered if they had recognized the Naomi that had left many years before. They called out her name, but she responded, and she was filled with complaints as she told the women not to call her Naomi. Her name in Hebrew means pleasantness. They were to call her Mara, which means bitter in Hebrew. She blamed her bitterness squarely on the Almighty, who had brought her back empty, who had dealt harshly with her, who had brought calamity and did evil to her. Ruth is silent as she listens to Naomi speak to the town's women. And when Naomi lived in Moab, she was a stranger and no one knew her name. But now that she's back home, the women recognized her and are moved by her arrival. Her status has changed, but Naomi has failed to acknowledge it, and she has distanced herself from the name by which the whole town knows her. Naomi claimed that when she left Bethlehem, she left full, but the narrator told us the family left because of famine. Naomi claims that the Lord has brought her back empty, but Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, stands silently by her side. The women of the town, though, are silent as they allow Naomi to express her feelings, and they do not scold her for speaking about her bitterness. In her bitterness, Naomi failed to acknowledge that her reason for returning home was that she had heard the Lord had come to the aid of his people and had provided food. The two women had arrived back in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. Naomi sees herself as empty, but faithful Ruth is right by her side, and the harvest is coming. The narrator hints at the changes that will take place in Naomi and Ruth's life.